Lindsay Bishop, who is a contemporary music anthropologist over at University College in London. She joins me now from Glasgow. Lindsay, good to have you on the show. Before we get into the serious stuff, I want to ask you something. We're all wondering what he meant in a specific song. In the blockbuster hit, he said, "I do anything for love," he sings, "but I won't do that." I'm wondering if you could shed any light onto this mystery. What did he mean there?
Oh my goodness. Honestly, that was one of my first favorites of his when I was just a teenager when that came out, and I've never been able to fully answer that question. I don't know. Maybe I've just been too unlucky in love to be able to come up with a decent answer for
We were
that.
having that debate in the newsroom today, too. All right. It's still a question today. All right. He was a larger-than-life character. I mean, both physically and in on-stage presence. Talk to about his legacy.
What I think is so incredible about Meat Loaf is that when you think about the time when his 1977, I believe it was, when his first album came out and exploded. I mean, who was famous then? Who were the pop stars then? I mean, David Bowie, and you had these amazing androgynous sort of male icons, and Meat Loaf just didn't fit that type physically, even his music as well, and yet he still transcended, and he never changed throughout the years. And I think there's something really incredible about how Meat Loaf was just himself, and yet people still loved him. He never shifted, and he was just this incredible character. And the fact that he transcended music, like you say in your introduction, theater, film, it's so rare to find someone that special that can do all these things and touch so many people and maintain their popularity for generations. And I think that's really incredible.
Mm-hmm. You say people liked him, that's for sure. I mean, I was reading that critics of Bat Out of Hell, I mean, it wasn't really liked by critics initially. Obviously, fans thought differently. It's interesting that he pretty much went on to make an entire career out of that album.
Yes, I think there's an awful lot. There's some really excellent websites out there that look at how critics changed their minds about albums once they became classic. You know, I think there was Black Sabbath, famously, their first album, which is so iconic, was derided by critics at the beginning. I believe Van Halen and Led Zeppelin were also victims to harsh critics at the time, and then later on, some omissions or some edits were made when time clearly told a different story about how people related to that music and the quality of it. But yes, when it comes to Meat Loaf, I don't think, you know, I wasn't a friend of his, but I feel like I get the impression he didn't really care about what critics or anybody thought of him. He just was his own man and did his own thing.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching a couple of his red carpet appearances, you know, before this interview. Very much his own man. He came onto the music scene at an interesting time when a lot was changing. He also had an interesting presence in the type of music that he did, especially when it came on to when it comes to the on-stage performance genre. Talk to us about that.
See, this is the thing where it's like he brought theater to a musical performance. He just added that extra kind of, I don't know what that extra something is. Sounds really generic, but with Bat Out of Hell and its sequels, I think we can call them, it's that spectacle that speaks to Alice Cooper and Van Halen, and it's just part of that rich tradition of just making this gigantic music. You know, it sounds big. The lyrics are almost mythic, and then transforming that into, you know, the stage production, which is something which it's sort of, again, it's something that critics and certain types of musicians deride, especially when you were looking into the 90s and the birth of grunge, and that kind of spectacle was seen to be less authentic. And I think, you know, I really applaud bands that that don't care about that kind of perception. It's like, and you can't argue with Meat Loaf's back catalogue of when it comes to authenticity and the quality of the music he makes. He just didn't care and still
Yeah.
made big music and made big performances.
Okay, yeah.
To go along with it.
I was reading that he was actually going to make a guest appearance. It's been taped on Ghost Hunters, which is going to appear next month. So certainly befitting in terms of that ghosty stuff and all the paranormal. Lindsay, pleasure having you on the show. I do appreciate it.